The following is a presentation of Hobson Media. Woohoo!
Hi, I'm Bill Hobson, and it was back on May 7th of 2020 that I sat down to record some thoughts about what life might be like during and then hopefully after COVID. You know, back at that time, none of us really knew what all the mask mandates were going to be, how schools would shut down, and how really all of life would change. And we certainly didn't know when it was going to end. So I gave some encouragements and some ideas for how to move through and move past all of that by setting some personal goals. Well, here we are now in June of 2021, and I think we're past it. I think that's where culture, I think that's where people and where families are finally moving. Now, I haven't been invited to any giant mask burning parties yet, but I think we're entering the post-COVID era. And so, with that in mind, I have 4 personal challenges I'd like to share with you that I think will help you kind of reshape life that's been so dramatically changed over the last several months. Ready? Here we go. Number 1, flex your work ethic muscles. One of the great casualties of the COVID era is the concept of paying people more to stay home than they would make if they went back to work. And in so many cases, people have readily accepted that sort of a bargain, when in reality what it does is it atrophies your work ethic muscles. If you've ever wondered why there are so many jobs available and businesses everywhere are begging people, they're paying exorbitant rates to come back to work, part of the answer to that is the work ethic muscles have atrophied. No offense to the ladies that used to work in the lunchroom of my elementary school, but I remember them distinctly because they had what we call lunch lady arms, right? Because the tricep, in this case, in their bodies hadn't been exercised in a very long time. It had atrophied, and it had become just a kind of a flabby mass. That's what's happening right now. You may remember that there was a great outcry demanding $15 an hour minimum wage. Well, that's being offered in a lot of places right now, and still nobody's coming. Why? Because it requires you to show up and to do work. So my encouragement to you, friends, is that if you have, this is a self-assessment, if you have gotten a little bit lethargic, if you've gotten a little bit lazy, get back to work, do something, mow the yard, help the neighbor, take a job that you may very well not do forever and ever, but get back to work, because that work ethic is actually ingrained in us. And when we give it up, when we set it aside, it actually causes us more harm than just sitting back and taking a handout. That's not what you were made for. Flex your work ethic muscles. Number 2, get back to church. One of the great benefits and one of the great signs of progress during the pandemic was to see the way churches of all sizes adapted rapidly to presenting their services online. And it was wonderful, because when we're cooped up in our homes, when we can't even go to work or to school, we needed that connection. We needed to be able to worship together, even though it was virtually and through our screens. Now admit it, for all of us, it was really novel for the first few weeks, maybe even few months. And then it got pretty convenient, right? It became pajamas, feet up, frequent interruptions, maybe scrolling your phone while you were watching the service, and not truly engaging in the fellowship that we missed so badly. Well, churches are now reopened. You need to get back there. There is a reason that Scripture encourages us to not forsake the assembling of one another. It's because there is an intrinsic divine benefit to coming together, to raising our voices in praise and worship, to hearing the message, to seeing each other eye to eye, and being able to say to someone, "How are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help? Do you want to get together for a bite to eat after church? Or maybe we'll meet for breakfast one day this week and we can just talk about life." We missed so much of that. It's time now, friends, to get back to church. Number 3, mute yourself when you don't have anything to say. You know, we've all seen it. We've probably been on those Zoom calls. There have been thousands of them in my life. I wish I had bought stock in Zoom, by the way, about 1.5 years ago, but I digress. We've all been on those Zoom calls where somebody's trying to make a very important point. They have thought it through. They've been waiting. They've been saving it up, and they start to talk, but their mic is muted, so it looks like that. It didn't matter what kind of brilliance they had stored up. If we couldn't hear it, it wasn't delivered. It got me to thinking about the number of times that I have spoken a little too quickly. And maybe this is an opportunity to practice some of the Zoom world stuff, and that is just by kind of muting myself, giving careful thought before I respond. So number 3 is kind of mute yourself when you have nothing to say. Assess for yourself how you spent your spare time during the pandemic. A lot of people had a lot of spare time, especially if your job went away or if you were quarantined at home and you literally couldn't go anywhere. Did you knock some items off of that list that we all have? The list is the things I would do if I only had time. So did you get in shape? Did you read the books? Did you learn that new craft by watching a bunch of YouTube videos and copying along at home? Did you reach out to that friend or family member that you've been wanting to talk to for so long but just never really took the time? You see, one of the great tragedies of the COVID era would be if we all just wasted all that time, because we had that time. So if that's you, if you have come to that self-assessment moment where you think, I could have done a lot more with that time, how about starting now? If you had a goal for physical fitness, start now. It's never too late. If you had a goal for reading through the books, if you had the goal of learning the new craft, if you had the goal of reaching out to that person who you just really wanted to talk to but kind of had been avoiding it for all that time, start right now. You see, the beauty of the post-COVID era is that if you're able to see this message right now, you made it. Not everybody did. I know that. A lot of people that are hurting because of those that they lost. So you made it. You did it. Seriously, I'm not being facetious. I'm not being lighthearted with this. Congratulations. It was a miserable, lousy time. People were arguing everywhere. People were mad at each other for no apparent reason other than we were all tired of being cooped up. You made it. Since you made it, take advantage of the days you still have, however many they may be. So if you missed out on some of the goals you had set back at the beginning where you thought, if I'm going to be locked in, I'm going to do these things. If you didn't do them, start right now. Those are my 4 personal encouragements for you. I'd love to have you check us out online at hobsonmedia.com, where you can see a number of other commentary videos, kind of some thoughts, some challenges, and hopefully some insightful commentary that can help send you in a direction that perhaps you've been wanting to go. You just needed somebody to put it into words. Thanks for watching.